Before I do the intro and literally anything else, Cosmos, Grief, Death Corridor, both Deimoses, Edge of Destiny, and Limbo are all either set to be nerfed or were originally not even meant to be top 1 in the first place, while other levels like Orochi and Misanthrope are so far off into the future that we will probably see new top 1s in between now and when those are verified. I would also like to mention that while Acheron is at the number 1 spot as of the recording of this video, it is possible that either Abyss of Darkness or Slaughterhouse or some other level that's currently in the top 5 is swapped with Acheron. However, this video more focuses on what the next top 1 will be outside of this group of levels. So Sakupin Circles, Silent Clubstep, Abyss of Darkness, Slaughterhouse, and Acheron have all sort of been argued on whether they should be top 1, top 2, top 3, whatever. Pretty much every top player has a different opinion at this point on what is genuinely top 1. My personal guess would be either Acheron or at this point Abyss of Darkness, but the demon list can never be 100% accurate and that people have different skill sets, yeah, whatever. But aside from that annoying and quite frankly uninteresting mess, what will be the next upcoming top 1? And by that, I mean a level that is meant to be top 1, is verified legitimately, and is placed at the number 1 spot, and not swapped with Slaughterhouse like every other level in existence. So while the next top 1 could technically be Abyss of Darkness or maybe Slaughterhouse, I'm more so focusing on levels that aren't currently on the list. The first of which being Eternal Night. Eternal Night is probably the upcoming top 1 with the most attention in general. Lots of people praise it for its decoration and its more unique use of different game modes other than just wave and ship. Well, after Swyborg dropped this a few months ago, Cursed picked it up and decided that he wanted to make it his magnum opus, super buffing it into Oblivion. Yeah, I have issues. The level features very tight timings, straight fly, of course, as well as some amazing artwork, and is currently being redecorated so that the gameplay parts in between the art are actually better. Not that it was bad to begin with, but, you know, why not? The reason I chose this level to mention as one of the possible candidates is because Cursed is really dead set on making this the next real top 1, whereas, for example, Abyss of Darkness was an open verification with a set difficulty. My guess is that either Cursed will actually pull through with this in a few months to maybe a year or so, with it hopefully placing it top 1 without too many discussions around whether it is actually top 1. It is also possible that it could end up being more of an Azure Flare situation, in that the super buff version would be made in open verification, where all the top players, and I guess Nick XD at this point, would make some progress videos on it before either Space UK or some random new player would end up verifying it. Regardless of which outcome that is, I think it is pretty likely that Eternal Night will end up being top 1 in the near future, and considering it is one of the better projects that a vast majority of the community actually likes, I think this is probably one of the best possible outcomes. Of course, assuming it doesn't get swapped with Slaughterhouse like every other level. So next up is Vivisect. I haven't really talked about this level at all on my channel yet, but essentially Vivisect is a Grief for Hell level currently being decorated that is very atmosphere heavy, which in my opinion is basically kind of what Slaughterhouse tried to do but just executed better and has more emphasis on a horror vibe than just unintelligible screaming, so basically a griefer level. I do think that this level does have a genuine chance of becoming top 1. However, there is one thing about this level that makes it very likely that it'll end up being top 1, and that is it's a Space UK verification, unless that changed recently, which in that case this video will end up probably aging like milk, but whatever. You see, if Space UK verifies a level, it is automatically top 1. This is of course something I wholeheartedly genuinely believe, and not something I have been forced to say, but yeah, pretty much this is kind of a cool level, and it's basically a better Slaughterhouse, and it's a Space UK verification. That being said, this level is very much its own thing. I don't think it really is a Slaughterhouse remake because it has a lot of its own elements, but the theming is very similar to Slaughterhouse. So the next level I have here is the Human Limit. Now, as much as I do not like the idea of having a level named the Human Limit, because I think it's a bad time investment, considering that inevitably when the level is dethroned, it's kind of weird to have a level called the Human Limit be at number 2, unless number 1 is Death Corridor verified by Nick XD, obviously. I think it's also possible this level will end up getting nerfed, which at that point doesn't make any sense because it's named the Human Limit. Maybe it'll be nerfed and renamed, I don't know. That being said, in its current state it is most likely top 1. I think this, along with Cosmos, would be like the best possible version of a Slaughterhouse remake that you can get, and this is edging on the territory of not being Slaughterhouse remake considering that it has some of its own ideas. I don't personally like this level as much, but that doesn't change the fact that it has a sea of frame perfects and might end up being top 1 at some point. I mean, it certainly has enough traction to get some people to verify it if it is an open verification. That being said, I still think it's more likely that Eternal Night or Vivisect would end up being top 1, but at least before this. So the final level I'm going to mention is Azure Flare. Azure Flare is probably the biggest jump in difficulty from our current top 5 that we have right now. or at least supposedly is. Of course, other projects could be buffed in the future, and Adramelech exists. But I do think it is possible that Aiden GD will end up verifying this sometime in the next year or two. If not, someone else will do it. And while I don't think it's as likely as Eternal Night or maybe Vivisect, or even at this point the Human Limit, which is why I'm mentioning it later in the video, it is still definitely at least a sizable possibility. Also, honorable mention goes to Ascension to Heaven. This is probably the only upcoming top 1 that I like more than Eternal Night, so I'm bringing it into honorable mention here because there is no specific reason for me to think that this will end up being top 1. I just wish there was, so honorable mention, I guess. I mean, most likely by the time it's finished, it will need to probably be super buffed in order to be top 1, if it is forced to be top 1. So it probably won't end up being top 1, but at the very least, honorable mention it here, because it's a cool level, you should check it out. In my opinion, I think from least likely to most likely out of the levels that I've mentioned today, it goes Ascension to Heaven, the Human Limit, Azure Flare, Vivisect, and then most likely Eternal Night. Of course, my predictions could be wrong. There could be just some random new project that springs up in like a month and then just immediately gets rated and placed at number 1. But do you know what's harder than a top 1? That's right, a top 0. The concept of which makes no sense in any way. So what will most likely be the next upcoming top 0, you ask? And the answer to that question is Riot's Demise. Just kidding, we all know Riot's Demise is like top 30. Oh wait, never mind, has a Sea of Frame Perfects. I forgot, no, it's top 1, whatever. We all know the real top 0 is World Trade Center by R.F. and more. On a more serious note, the game is currently in a weird place in terms of top 1s, in that new top 1s are very close in difficulty, at least from what I can see. So different skill sets and different experiences with each of the levels will heavily impact what's going to get placed at number 1, and the demon list can never be 100% accurate. All of the levels that I have mentioned on this list are most likely big jumps from what we have in the top 5 right now. So I really am hoping that when or if any of these levels are verified and placed on the list, there's a definite place for them to go, and it's not just a mess of what's top 1, what's top 2, and what's top 3, because it's honestly a discussion that has been constantly going on for like almost a year now, and it's just kind of annoying. This will probably be the last video that I make on which upcoming top 1 is going to be the new top 1, because I'm just honestly tired of it. I'm not going to make any more videos on if Acheron and Slaughterhouse get swapped or something, and everyone who watches this channel would already know of such event anyways, so I'd probably end up just uploading a 20-second meme-Z style video that somehow gets like 600,000 views for no reason, and then just leave it there. But I do want to start making videos on other topics more often. I'll still make videos on upcoming top 1s that I do think are worthy of attention. So if you would like me to cover other topics, then let me know in the comments what topics you would like me to discuss. If you like the video, then like the video. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. If you'd like to join my Discord server, link is in the description. And yeah, see you in the next one.